All right, here we are on the set of Donna and Friends. Joining me, newly elected Commissioner Brent Thompson. Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, Brent, I invited you in because I want to visit a little bit first about how you felt your campaign went and what the experience was like for you.
It went fine. For the most part, it was enjoyable. I mean, I got to talk to a number of people and, walking neighborhoods and putting stuff in, which I found out later I wasn't supposed to do, putting information into the mailboxes. But now the mail folks will hear me and come get me.
The mail police come get you.
I thought it went fine. I for the most part, enjoyed it.
So election night, was that exciting for you? Did you feel, was there a lot of anxiety? Did you feel like...
Oh, yeah, I was anxious all day long. I was nervous I take my hat off to Jim Holgriff.
Yes.
Jim ran a very clean campaign and win, lose, or draw, I would have felt very good about it because he's a class guy. And
well, he has a very genuine caring and concern for the community.
He does. He certainly does. And he called me the night when the results had come in and we talked for a little bit. And I really appreciate that. I think that's a sign of a real class act.
Yeah.
And so I told him that I appreciate it, and I truly did. But very close. 17 votes separated the two of us, so
right.
He must have campaigned pretty hard too.
Well, I feel like he probably did, and there isn't anyone in the area, in this community that didn't notice a round hay bale at some point.
Well, and he grew up here.
Town. Yeah.
And for the most part, they may not everybody know him personally, but they know the name.
Right, exactly.
So, but I was very excited about winning and
well, and I think those numbers also show that it's very important to get out and vote.
Oh, absolutely.
And this is something I preach all the time. A lot of us preach this around town when we've got something that's going to be on the ballot. We need to get out and vote because every single vote does count.
It does in a local, particularly when in an off-presidential year.
Yes.
I don't remember how many people we had vote this time, but it was a pretty small number. And in those situations, every vote is critical. Absolutely.
One vote could make or break it. So on local elections,
in this case, 17 did.
I know. Just think if those 17 people hadn't come out to vote.
Absolutely.
So there you have it. Well, let's move on and let's talk about, now that you have gone through that process, next you'll do the swearing in, which will be on May 4th, and then it'll be time to attend your first city meeting.
Yeah, I think May 20th.
Yeah,
I think
May
is our
20th.
first actual council meeting. I'll be a sitting council member or commission member. I'm really kind of excited about it. We had a budget hearing last night, which was really interesting. Their budget's a little more difficult than the chamber budget was. The chamber budget was pretty straightforward, and this is a little more complicated.
Right.
So, but I learned a lot last night, and we were there for 3 hours or so, and I'm anxious. I truly am anxious to get started.
Yeah. Well, you're coming in right at the time where, the new budget's going to be projected, and they're taking a look at the old budget, and, via our workshops where we're learning about what's gone on, what could possibly go on. In the way of spending and being within that budget, what would you focus on, Brent?
Well, to me, and I campaigned on this, is trying to be more accountable to our taxpayers, to the citizens of Cushing, infrastructure-wise. I truly believe that we don't give back enough of what we get to keep our community a little more pristine and in a little bit better shape. And that's what I intend to focus on primarily my 3 years.
Well, I know there's a lot to that budget. Sitting through the workshops, there's a lot of categories. I know infrastructure has been one of the big things that everyone's been talking about in the area. And then, of course, those roads. You know, I guess currently we've got about 2 miles per year that we do.
Roughly,
And we could maybe look at advancing that a little bit more, because I guess that's a small amount. The money doesn't look small if you're just a normal person that's being spent, but that's really a pretty small dedication, don't you think, to the...
It is, and as I've told people, you know, we have roughly 65 miles of streets in Cushing, and if we're repairing roughly 2 miles a year, if you do the math, you never even get close to catching up. And Steve Spears said last night, you never do really catch up, and I understand that.
Well, I would think no matter what the plan is, really, you would never really ever be caught up.
No.
Right.
But we ought to be getting closer than we are.
Well, going back to the day of the swearing in, you know, we'll also be looking at someone within the 5 commissioners being our next chairman / mayor. And I'd ask Trace this earlier, so I'll ask you, do you have a feel for who could possibly be the new chairperson?
Yeah, I do. I would rather not say at this point because, you know, I've not talked to them, and I don't really know how they feel about it. But
I've got
someone who I would like to see take it.
Well, okay. Well, I won't badger you on camera, but I just, you know, I asked Trace, and I gotta tell you, Brent, he basically said the same type thing that you're saying, you know. So nobody's letting those thoughts out of the bag of who the next chairperson / mayor.
Yeah, I just don't want to ambush him and
yeah, whoever it is might go, what? Nobody talked to me about that,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
And be like, oh, you heard it here first on Don and Friends, so I guess I'll you know, let go of that thought of getting that scoop. Doggone it. Well, Brent, also another thing I want to talk to you about is something that Commissioner Brannon and Commissioner Amon have done, and will continue to do, and to see if you'll be a part of it, and that is the Cushing Conversations, which are the, you know, town hall meetings that they have a mind of putting together so often.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the best things that we've had happen. And even before I was commissioner, I was hoping that would continue. So I'm excited and more than willing to participate in that activity. You know, we can't not afford to keep our taxpayers or the citizens updated about what's going on in our city.
Yes. Well, I feel like these town hall meetings are the perfect remedy for that, because we had that first one and it was a very relaxed environment, and people were able to get up to a mic and ask any question they wanted. And I just don't think it gets any more, you know, open than that, where you as a citizen, if you've got, say, a problem in your alley, you know, for example, I'm just coming up with something off the top of my head, you could go to this town hall meeting and make that known. If you
Exactly. And if, you know, as Terry and Don did that night, if they had some kind of an explanation, they gave it.
Right.
If they didn't, they said they would check in on it. You know, I can't, both sides of the aisle, the sitting commissioners as well as the citizens, I think were able to truly communicate with each other. And I think everybody walked away feeling pretty good about it.
I believe they did too, and I'm really looking forward to the next town hall meeting that Cushing has, because I think that is the citizen's voice.
Yeah, Terry
it's a new concept, but it can become the citizen's voice.
Terry has already cornered me on that, which was not a case of having to be cornered. I do want to participate.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that, because I think it's going to take, you know, different commissioners coming in at different times and everyone getting to know their commissioner.
Exactly.
You know, not
Exactly.
everybody knows you, you know. You think in a small town that everyone knows me, but it's true. A lot of people do not, especially in that capacity. Well, we've got a couple of minutes left. When you go into the first series of meetings, let's say the first 3 months, Brent, what are you going to try most, do you think?
Well, just learning. There's a huge learning curve here for me, and you know, so I'm going to want to try to pick up and learn as much as I can, as quickly as possible. Somebody told me the other day that it would probably take close to a year to learn it. Well, I hope not. You know, I want to be an active member, and I want to participate, and I don't want to take a third of my year to do that, but or a third of my term. But I know I'm going to have to spend some time just on getting acclimated and finding out more about budget and how the city operates and where this and that is. So I'm just going to try to keep my eyes open and ears open and ask questions.
Well, Brent, quickly, if someone wants to get a hold of you, we've got a citizen watching, and they want to talk to you, what's your number or an email address?
Call me on my cell number, and that's 618-535-0126. Or my email address is Alvin, all lowercase letters, Alvin, A-L-V-I-N, Thompson 13 at yahoo.com.
All right, thanks for coming in. You're watching Donna and Friends. Don't touch your mouse.
You're watching RDMG TV.